Welcome to part 2 of the coat project. In this part, you will see me adding the fusible interface where necessary, assembling the front and back of the coat, and finishing the kit pleats. Just a quick word about cutting out the sleeves, following on from the previous part of this project in the first video. I was able to cut out my sleeves the way I did, i.e. I cut them once on doubled over fabric because my fabric is reversible. If you have a patterned fabric or velvet, for instance, you would not be able to do this. You would need to cut your sleeves out as they are shown in the lay plan in the instructions. This is because, although the sleeve pattern piece may look symmetrical, it is not. So in this instance, you must lay your pattern piece on a single layer of your fabric to cut out the first sleeve, then flip the pattern piece over, cut out the second sleeve. That way you will have a pair of sleeves. Here I am fusing the fusible interface pieces to the cuff of the sleeves. I'm just doing this using the manufacturer's instructions. I've already fused the interface to the front facing pieces, and the other pieces of fusible interface that I've cut out will be used in the next step. Here I am fusing the fusible interface to the back of the back pieces. I'm now adding one of the pockets to one of the sides. You obviously have to repeat this for the other side. Those pen marks you can see are where I've just made a mark 3/4 of an inch above the pocket notches, and that's because I have my pockets a little bit higher because I'm quite short. Here are my 4 pieces with pieces of pocket sewn on and then top stitched. So that's 2 front pieces and 2 side pieces. The next stage is to join a front piece to a front side piece, right sides together. When you're pinning the sections of the front of the coat together, like you see me doing here, and in fact, also when you are adding the pocket pieces, it's a good idea to lay both sides out on the table as though you're looking at the front of your coat and make sure that you've got two sides, a pair, and that you've got the seams on the right side. I've actually made this mistake on occasion when dealing with a fabric like this that doesn't have a distinct right and wrong side. Just show you a bit of pinning if I can. This is before I've overlocked the edge. I will be separately overlocking these two edges. But where you've got the top of the front side and the front of the coat, and when you're pinning them together, when you get to the top here, so the notch there, that's you're going to be sewing right up to there. And then you'll see that there's excess fabric here on the curve where you've pinned them together. Just ease that round so that it will lie flat. This is an extremely visible part of the coat, so make sure that you do that carefully and sew it carefully as per the instructions in the pattern. Thank you for the helpful comments I've received following the first part of the project, including regarding the fact that overlocking woven fabrics can sometimes make them stretch out. So I did some trials And because everything was okay, I decided to overlock most of the edges of the fabric and to use the pinking shears and the zigzag stitch on my sewing machine for the harder to reach edges. Just checking the seam allowance here, I did this throughout the make. This is what this stage looks like when you've finished it. I do think it's encouraging to see a finished seam after all of the preparation. I'm just going to clip the curves of the seam to help them to lie flat. Moving on to page 11 of the pattern, it's now time to join the two back pieces of the coat together. Match up the seams, right sides together. I'm just steaming some of the interface back down that lifted up at this point. Pin from the top down to the pivot point that's marked on the pattern. I'm just checking where that is in a moment with the ruler. It's a point where if you were going to then sew along that slope edge where you would pivot. So it's 1.5 centimeters from that point there. I haven't actually marked it, but that's where it is. And there's a mark on the pattern for it. So here I am after I've sewn it, and I'm just going to steam press that seam open as per the instructions. So I'm just showing here what page we're on. So have the back of the coat right sides facing you and pin up as per the instructions a 5 centimeter hem, but you do need to make sure that both sides match up at the back. So that might require a little bit of minor adjustment at this point. It certainly did for me. And I found this with all sorts of patterns where you can measure as carefully as you want, but sometimes two sides of the same garment where you've been extremely careful, they are not the same length. So the point of this is that you want the back of your coat to match up. So just do what I'm doing, and it doesn't look as though that's matching up at the moment, but it is. Another thing you could do is at the point of where the heart pin cushion is there in the middle of the back, you could put a weight, and that would mean you could ease both sides down and make sure that you're not pulling one more than the other, but they do need to be at the same point at the back. It's a case of being moderation, so don't agonize over it, because nobody's going to meet you at an event and scrutinize the back of your coat. But if it's way off, it's going to annoy you for a long time. So here I'm folding over the 1 centimeter hem on the side of the coat where you made your sewn line in the hem 1 centimeter in. This is on step 5 on page 12. So it says create a line of stitches, just pin that in place and then sew that seam. On the other side of the back of the coat, you just press in the larger hem, and that's where you sewed in your stitch line on the hem at 6 centimetres in. So just press it into place. So over the next few minutes, I'll just be following the rest of the steps to finish off the kick pleat that are in the pattern. Just to say that when you sew through all layers, that is with the coat opened out flat, and you literally do sew through the whole of the coat. And I'll show you it on the sewing machine at the end of this section. You can see me putting the pin right through to the back here. Here I'm just putting a pin in the hem to hold the kick pleats in position whilst I sew here on the sewing machine. You can see me positioning the coat under the needle here with it opened out, and I'm sewing right through to the back of the coat. And here it is completed, and you can see that line of stitches visible on the back of the coat as it should be. Thank you for watching. Next time I will be completing the coat.